if you're in your 20s, can we talk? Because there's some weird fucking advice going around for people in their 20s. And I want you to know that there's some weird fucking advice going around for people in their 20s. Honestly, we've internalized the same message. We all think that somehow by a certain age, we're supposed to know something profound. We're supposed to have like figured out some shit. We're supposed to like know who we are, have everything figured out, have X, Y, and Z all lined up, because like 30 is the mile marker, right? Like that's the thing. Otherwise you're too old to do anything. That's like the thing. When honestly your 20s is literally when you're a big fucking rat in a sewer. You're just covered in shit and you're just trying to figure out all the shit. You're just like, who am I? What am I doing? How do I make money? How am I going to take care of myself? What are my boundaries? I'm learning so much. I don't like this. I do like this. What about my childhood trauma? My parents. Take a deep breath in, friend. In through your nose. And exhale. Big exhale. Just arrive with me. Just arrive with me here. Whether you are in your early 20s, mid 20s, late 20s, there's a big purpose for you to use this time as exploration, my friend. And hindsight is always 2020, and literally 2020s, because coming from somebody in my mid 30s, probably a little bit older by the time you get this because I'll have a birthday, there's a lot of beautiful things about your 20s that are so unique that you just can't get back. And so we have a choice on how we want to approach and view our time in the rat sewer. There's a perspective change that can take place that allows you to truly embrace and embody the part of your life that you'll actually never get back. The 20s are so magical and mystical. There's so much like newness and excitement and discovery that happens that like once you know those things, it's like it's hard to replicate that. But while we're caught up in the sewer, like while we're in the mess, while we feel like this like heavy, dense, overwhelmed kind of energy, it's hard for you to experience that enjoyment. Now, the reason I say there's some really bad advice for people in your 20s is because a lot of the people giving you advice for your 20s are people who are pretty far away from their 20s, number one. And number two, they're also giving advice from things that they wish they did, but they didn't actually do. They're not coming from people who did it and say like, yes, I made that decision and I actually liked making that decision. And I did this thing, it didn't work out, but I'm so glad I went and tried it anyway. So these are people who are coming at you from like, when I was your age, I didn't do this and I really truly regretted that. You're going to regret that as my age. Okay, maybe I will, maybe I won't, but that's you, my friend, okay? And the third piece of that is that a lot of this advice comes from an incredibly patriarchal, colonized, and capitalistic perspective of being and thinking and feeling. So it's to say that, hey, you should know who you are by this age because like otherwise like you're unhireable. You're not going to make money. Nobody's going to love you. Nobody's going to want you because like you're too reckless. Nobody wants a 30-year-old who's doing all this shit. Nobody wants somebody who doesn't have their finances figured out, doesn't want this thing or that thing. There's some kind of programming that we've somehow attached ourselves to, whether it's through society, culture, parents, upbringing, environment. You know, like I'm always saying like blame everything. There's a part of us that believes that we have to do certain things in certain ways, otherwise we're somehow not enough, or we didn't do enough, or we're behind some way. And isn't that the case? As we continue this conversation, I also want you to know that your late 20s is literally a time of your life where you just finished growing in your prefrontal cortex. This is the part of your brain responsible for executive functioning and decision making. So when you're trying to like force your brain to do something and you're like a 22-year-old person, you could, but you are missing a very crucial part of literally your brain in order to support you in that decision. By the time you finish your 20s, by the time you are, in your 29s, you're approaching your 30s, you have this part of your brain that is supporting you in making different decisions for yourself. So in other terms, sometimes we talk about this in terms of your Saturn return, and I'll link you to a video around the Saturn return, which is in astrology a period of time from your 27s to almost 33s where you experience this like huge shift in discovering who you are, really stepping into your embodiment, really stepping into your truth. So now as I break down a couple of different things that you may have heard as advice in your 20s, I'm going to tell you why it's bad advice, and I'm also going to give you an alternative way to think about this going forward. In your 20s, people say pick one thing and stick to it. Yes and no. It's both because yes, it is important for you to like get good at something. It really is important for you to practice a thing and have momentum, have consistency, have discipline, and really build up a skill set, a tool that you can transfer to something else that you want to do, it is important for you to have a skill. And it's also important for you to discover what skill, right? It's important for you to explore just a little bit so that you're not just like developing a skill that you don't give a shit about, that you have no excitement about, that doesn't light you up, that doesn't match with your own energy, the things that your strengths are. You just picked the skill because it was like the easiest ones to pick, you know, because it was convenient, because you thought it was going to make you money, because you thought, you know, society was going to see it in a certain type of way, because your parents forced you into it, because you felt pressured internally or externally to make a decision towards the skill. It's important that you pick a skill, but it's also important that you do a little bit of discovery and exploration in deciding what skill that is. And it's important for you to do this exploration because you might just not have context of what exists out there. So you might not know that you can study music or art or science or flowers or rocks or the sky or this or that. Like you might not even understand that that's a possibility for you. So you just like picked a skill because it's like, okay, this just seems, you know, something everybody's doing. There's the job market, and I'm making decisions based on, again, a patriarchal, capitalistic, and colonized way of being rather than my own interest and skill sets and strengths, right? And my own energy, my own inner knowing of something that I want to pursue. So for me personally, like I got a lot of scholarships to go to school for costume design. And that's something that I truly enjoy. So I took that money and I applied it to something else. But there was a lot of my interest that I love, like engineering different ways to make things happen, and like zippers and this, and like constructing different things. And I would be taking apart like sergers and machines and like doing all these different things. I wanted to see like how these things work and the mechanisms behind it. Like my brain was like all the time. But I don't necessarily like want to pursue like becoming a costume designer. I just like to do it to the point where that's something that I got to do in high school. Thankfully, you know, my high school had all these different extracurriculars that I was able to explore. Like I don't need to make that my entire thing, but that is something that I got to itch. When I was in college, I was able to take classes in lighting design, and I have a whole degree in arts and technology. So looking at what kind of sensors made certain things move, and frame differencing and filtering and all these different types of computer programming that we were experimenting with. I really don't want to be a computer scientist, but like I got to explore that. And then after I finished my formal studies, I was just like, oh my gosh, like I wonder if I like research. And so I reached out to a professor in my alma mater and I said, hey, do you need like some help in your research lab? Like I'll work for you for free. And honestly, I've been there for like almost 14, 15 years because I still work and collaborate and write and do academic work with this professor from initiating this relationship, initiating something that I was just curious about. Now, is that my pure profession? No, but does that profession inform the profession that I have right now? Absolutely. Me having research experience made me the first in Southern California to receive grant funding from the state of California to bring holistic healing arts like breathwork and sound healing meditation tools to clinical population. Unheard of. First person to do it. We were able to put programs in women's shelters, veterans legions, low-income schools, community programming, wellness initiatives. This was a pretty freaking big deal. But I wouldn't have that skill if I didn't do that other thing and pursue that. And so my point in saying that is that some things seem really unrelated to you. It's like, why would I be doing costume design? Why would I be doing research? Why would I be doing this like a random other thing, like interning over here and doing this kind of thing? Things start to line up and circle around at a different part that you just don't have the context to. Universe is always working in your favor. And if you want to leave it to that esoteric term, you can leave it there. But also there is a practical application of just like having some experience that you're taking on that doesn't have to become like your entire life course, but it adds to the things that you're building in your future, right? So then a bunch of years ago, I also like interned for this one person where I was doing like book research for them. Okay, then when I wrote my book, those skills translated. And then one time I was doing this internship for I used to work at Target and work at a yogurt shop. customer service skills, you know, being able to problem solve, all these different things, like things that you collect over time actually apply in a way you just can't see it just right now. Do not limit yourself from what it is that you can get experience in, and don't be afraid to pursue things that you're just interested in, and don't be afraid to pursue things that are just for like excitement, because maybe it was just for that time and you're like, okay, that was an experience and I'm just going to leave that there, you know, like don't need to do that again. Or sometimes they do circle back around and it informs you in the current work that you're doing here. Okay, so very, very important for you to leave yourself that exploration space. And I may have said this to you before, that you can actually explore at any part of your life. You're not limiting to just doing exploration when you're, you know, in your 20s. You can do that at any point, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, right? People make decisions in their 60s. They're like, oh, I'm going to pursue this, or I'm going to start this different thing. It's like, yeah, go for it, get it, you know? And also 20s is a beautiful time because it's so low risk. It just is like so low risk in your 20s. Like, what are you doing that has like so much pressure? It's not that important, you know? Your financial responsibilities are pretty low. Your life responsibilities are pretty low. You know, your energetic responsibilities are pretty low. So it's okay for you to just have this like a little bit of a reckless feeling to it, where you're exploring, you know, still taking care of yourself in the best way that you know how, but leaving that space and time for exploration. Another piece of bad advice you receive in your 20s is that your 20s is for self-improvement. Ew. Okay, so yes and no. Again, like yes and no. It's like, yeah, self-improvement is great. You should probably develop some emotional maturity, develop your communication skills, learn your freaking boundaries, understand your triggers, understand your subconscious programming, do some shadow work, get into some healing containers, have a mentor, have some people in your community that is supporting your growth, supporting your vision. Yes, yes, yes. And don't become so fucking obsessed with self-improvement where you constantly and consistently feel like you're not good enough. When is it going to be enough? Like, when are you going to fix everything? You know, like you're going to have such an obsession that you're going to forget to live. You're going to forget to just have the joy and experience of life because you're like, nope, gotta go yoga, gotta go do, you know, your affirmations, gotta go to your healing, gotta go do this thing, gotta go therapy, gotta do, like, none of these things are bad things, but your obsession with doing all of this thing because you think the self-improvement thing is only for your 20s is just not true. You can have self-improvement for the rest of your life and still not like get it done. You know, you can be the most committed, mostest of the self-improvement category and still have something to work on. And that's just the fact of life. That is just you as a freaking human that's going to have something somewhere that can use a little adjustment or tweaking. Okay. So the earlier that you learn that there is not this like final destination that you're getting to, the earlier that you understand that self-improvement is just a practice of self-love. It's a practice of giving a shit about yourself. It's a practice of liking yourself, even if there's something that you would like to change. That is the true practice of self-improvement, my friend. That is the practice of self-freaking love. This understanding of self-love, self-worthiness is truly important in your 20s because it truly carries over to your older years too. Because then you find yourself in your 60s, your 70s, still thinking that you're not fucking good enough because you still have something to improve, because you still have something to fix, and then now you have new problems and you have new situations and you have new triggers and you have new traumas, and it is never ending. It's just never ending. So as you take a deep breath in, you understand that yes, as I am, you know, understanding that there's things to improve, because as there are, right? Like, sure, there's things to improve. I just can't be hyper focused on it. I can't just be so obsessed with changing myself all the time that at the core of myself, I believe that I am not good enough, that I actually don't like myself as I am. Because I always think that there's something else to get, something else to go to, something else, something outside of me, when the truth of it is I have everything within me right here, right now. And if I am able to truly understand and respect that, if I'm able to truly understand and honor that, the game is going to shift. The next thing you'll hear in your 20s is to save your money. Yes and no, because it's both again. Because absolutely, you definitely want to start developing a good relationship with money in your 20s, because dang, like the triggers are going to come up. Like you're going to be asking for a raise, you're going to be negotiating some finances, you're going to be, having passive income, you're going to be diversifying your investments, you're going to be, an entrepreneur. There's so many different things that you're going to be interacting with in terms of money. So absolutely, it's good for you to have financial literacy and understand how it is that you can save and conserve money, but also it's important for you to understand how to spend this resource. And what that means is not spending recklessly. That's not what we're talking about. Because don't say like, Shanila told me to spend all my money and now I don't have anything. Like, no, that's not what we're talking about. We're saying understand, why is it that you're actually collecting the money? Like, why are you collecting it in a bank? Why is it just hitting your checking account? Why is it hitting your savings account if you're never going to utilize it? So the reason that you want it is because you do want those nice dinners. You want that outfit. You want your hair did and your nails done. You want that vacation. You want that trip. You want to treat your friends. You want to get that gift for your mom. You want to treat your parents. You want to do all these different things. So money has a purpose. Like you're collecting this because you want to be able to utilize it for something. But if you aren't participating in that energy exchange, that what goes in must come out, what goes in must come out. It's a circular energy. And seeing money as an energy, you start to notice that perhaps you have a scarcity mindset around energy. You have a scarcity mindset around the money, and you're hoarding money to the point you're not actually getting what it is that you want from your money. You want the vacation, but like you don't want to spend your money on that. You want that outfit, but you don't want to spend your money on that. You want that food, but you don't want to spend your money on that. So you're participating like a hoarder. There is this like, I need to hold on to it because otherwise I'm not going to have enough. Otherwise, like when I'm trying to retire, I'm just not going to be able to afford the thing that I want to be and the quality of life. And it's coming from a place of fear. So your body energetically is feeling like it's in a scarcity energy. It's feeling like it doesn't have the abundance that is around. And essentially what you have to do to heal through that is spend some money in a way that feels like it's an investment to you. So investing in yourself means, yeah, you do need to sign up for that thing that feels like a scary amount of investment, but go ahead and do that for yourself. Perhaps it's an educational thing. Perhaps it's a course. Perhaps it's a mentorship. Perhaps it's a community. Perhaps it's a, dance class membership that you want to take. Perhaps it's a gym membership that you want to have. Money going out makes you feel abundant in a certain way that if you're holding on to this scarcity energy going forward later in your life, you're going to see that you have a ton of money just sitting here, but you just literally don't know how to enjoy it. You're delaying your life because you think there's going to be a better time for you to spend this $20. There's going to be a different time when it's going to make sense for you to spend this $3,000. And there's going to be a different time. You're delaying your life instead of understanding that saving money is important, but also having experiences from what money and energy can bring you are equally as important. So for me, I remember that like when I was in my mid-20s, sometimes when the finances weren't like really working out, I would still go. I would still go to the music, I would still go to the concerts, I would still go to this thing, I would still go to that thing, and I would just scrape by and I would have a different, level of experience. But honestly, those experiences really informed my experience of life, right? Like the life context that I would get being able to travel to over 50 countries, being able to, experience this with my best friend and being able to go to music. And I fucking love like live music. Like back in the day, like if I didn't have any money, like I had time for music, I had money for music. Like that's the thing that like enriched me. And so when you make things a part of your natural habit, your subconscious also understands like, oh, this is the type of lifestyle that we're building. Now you're not spending above your means. You're not spending in a way that is going to, really put you in a bad situation. But sometimes the idea about money is not to live within your means, it's to live in the way that you want to and make your means match the way that you want to live. Okay, so that is this energy in when people say save your money, it is to be responsible, yes, and also to have a little bit of excitement and a little bit of a reckless energy in what it is that you're giving yourself permission to experience through that money. This last one is a little bit different because in your 20s you just have this idea that everything. It's like that teenager, but just put a different age to it. Like I know mom, like I know. It is like that, but also in your 20s, you forget that there's people older than you who have life experience than you. And because you feel like you need to know everything, you discredit other people's lived experiences. And that includes your elders. It includes your parents, includes your teachers, includes people who have a different scale and a different experience of life. And you discredit that. And it is important for you to give a little credit to that. So it doesn't mean that you need to listen to everything everyone says and like take that for facts, because it's not. Nothing is a fact. But there is so much value that you can take from your elders. There's value that you could take from listening to their stories, to their struggles, to their perspectives, to, you know, how it happened for them. And even though you think, what does their story have to do with me? They're sharing their story in hopes that it supports you, including me. Like, maybe I'm too old for you, you know, like my 20s was X amounts of years ago, but maybe I'm too old for you and you're like, okay, boomer, like, okay, you know, maybe you think that about me, but there is a part of me that is sharing this to say that yes, there are certain things that are so hindsight, right? In hindsight, you can understand that, oh my gosh, I wish. And oh my gosh, I see. Oh my gosh, I understand what they were saying. And I definitely have those moments for myself where I'm like, oh shit, like I get what my grandfather was saying, or I get like what my mom was experiencing. I get this fear now. Like I got it, but I didn't get it. You know, it's different. Like you can get something, but then you like, you get it. Like oh, now I get it. Those are the moments. And so it's a part of understanding to humble yourself, to know what you don't know, like to be okay that you don't know everything and you never will, and that's okay. So it's okay to rely on the stories of elders, to respect them, even when they have their flaws, even when they're like, you know, they're saying something like you're just like, no, you know, they come from a different context of life, but don't discount the wisdom of other people, of other experiences. And, you know, we're all just walking each other home here. We're all just like trying to share the bits and pieces. Me sharing my bits and pieces over here is to hope to inspire, like, okay, you know, this was my experience, and hopefully there's something that you can take away from that is inspiring or, you know, relevant to you, where you're like, okay, you know what, I definitely have been experiencing my 20s in this way. I've been feeling that pressure. I've been feeling like I'm supposed to know everything, and that's okay. We've been there, we've done that. But now we just go forward. We take the advice, we skip some of the advice, we reconfigure the way that we think about advice, and we move on from there. I'll leave you here with that, but I also want to mention to you that there's this video here, which is all about your Saturn return. You are in your late 20s. This is going to be relevant for you because your astrological charts are saying certain things too, and you might want to check that out. So let me know in the comments what advice helped you out, which one did you resonate with, and of course, if you want to come train with us in the healing arts, you want to learn how to become an embodied practitioner, you want to do a little bit of discovery in different skill sets and things like that, head to www.alwaysplay.org. And just remember, the world literally is your playground. Just have a little fun, and until next time, I will catch you soon.